Chapter 71 Welcoming Party. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In Florin's cold drink shop, Florin Fusco was bored and dazed in his shop. Although it was close to the start of school and there should be many customers, the morning was a good time to sleep in, and eating ice cream in the morning was something that wizard parents did not support, which led to Florin Fusco being very leisurely now. Florin did not love his job. He inherited his family's cold drink shop just because he could not find what to do. In addition, he was usually free. The shop was his own and he did not need any rent. He just muddled along. What he liked most on weekdays was chatting with customers in the shop, especially guiding the little wizards to do their homework. He had a lot of experience in the history of magic. Not only did he have extensive knowledge of the common burning of witches in the Middle Ages, but he also had a lot of experience in some unofficial history, the Elder Wand and the Ravenclaw's crown. But today was a very strange day. Early in the morning, 3 little wizards came to his shop, and according to Florin's observation, the relationship between these 3 little guys was difficult to distinguish. The handsome little wizard seems to have a close relationship with both witches, the kind of boyfriend and girlfriend, definitely not relatives or friends. And the black-haired little witch seems to have a good impression of the little wizard, and another tall blonde witch beyond the boundaries of friendship, the blonde witch is the same as the black-haired little witch. How strange. Which 2 of them are a pair? Florin thought curiously. However, the most unusual thing is not the relationship between them, but that until now, 20 minutes have passed, and they have not said a word to each other. It has been almost 2 months since the underwater trip. Ryan, who returned to the castle, used the Lord God more to reorganize the layout. From a magical perspective, Smith Castle can be said to be an unbreakable city, and even Voldemort was defeated 3 times. However, from a physical perspective, this castle was not built overnight after all. It took many Smiths to check for leaks and fill in the gaps together, and it took thousands of years to finally complete it, so the layout is not very reasonable. Plantations and pastures should be closer to the inner test of the castle to avoid being poisoned through food. The outermost tower should be used to receive letters. It is a natural barrier in a deep canyon. During the war, flying was even prohibited. All wizards who wanted to attack Smith would be teleported here, then fall to death and be trapped. After dealing with the layout problem, Penelope returned from France close to the start of school in September, and Kate wrote letters whenever she was free to hint that she wanted to communicate about Atlantis, in order to welcome Penelope back to France. The 3 of them agreed to meet at Florin's cold drink shop at 8 o'clock in the morning on August 15, 1988, which was Monday. Ryan finally breathed a sigh of relief at the first sight of the meeting. Penelope was not tanned. In the original book, Hermione went to France in the summer vacation after the 2nd grade, and then her skin was tanned brown. Fortunately, Penelope was still white and tender. Thinking of this, it was ridiculous. In my previous life, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child was performed at the London Court Theatre, which was the story 19 years after Harry defeated Voldemort. The 3 main characters will all be shown as adults. Harry in the play is overloaded in the magic department, has a wife and 3 school-age children. Rowling, one of the authors of Harry Potter, set Hermione as black for political correctness, completely ignoring the fact that Hermione is white in the original work. And how can black people be tanned brown? To be truly non-racist is not to force other races into the stories, but to write related stories in a truly equal way, and it should be what it was at the time. Face up to history and accept history. Later, Rowling publicly opposed transgender people occupying women's rights, and then she was expelled from Harry, removed from the 2 largest Harry Potter websites abroad, and all pictures and texts were deleted. Now it's her turn to be knocked down by the iron fist of political correctness. Alas, my poor Hermione. Ryan warmly hugged Penelope, who he hadn't seen for a long time, while thinking wildly. Then, Ryan was pulled by Penelope to play a mind game. Damn! It must be Kate. Ryan complained. So, a new thinking game began, this time in the deep sea. Based on the previous trip, Penelope and Kate both looked like mermaids, while Ryan was dressed as the Sea King in his previous life. Looking at their own appearance, Penelope and Kate blushed, and the realistic and beautiful underwater world around them could not bring them back to their senses, while Ryan was feasting his eyes. All the body details were Kate and Penelope's own subconscious, and they were no different from the real thing. Ryan, where are the weapons? Kate quickly adapted and was disappointed that there were no cool weapons. Mermaid's weapons, do you still need to guess? Ryan casually pointed to the 10-inch Lobo worm next to him. Lobo worm is an aquatic creature that lives on the bottom of the North Sea. This is a simple animal, 10 inches long, consisting of a flexible nozzle and a venom sac. Lobo worm uses the venom sac as a weapon. When it is threatened, it will shrink the venom sac and use venom to drive away the attacker. The venom of the Lobo worm will not dissipate easily in the water, nor will it hurt other creatures by mistake. The mermaids took advantage of this and used it as a weapon, similar to a water gun. Penelope easily recited the information about the Lobo worm, but looking at her slightly red ears, it was probably to divert attention from her clothes. Do you know the language of mermaids? Ryan asked. No. Kate said. The language of mermaids is suitable for underwater use. This language is very strange. If it is on land, this language sounds sharp and harsh, but it is no longer harsh underwater. Just like Miranda Goshawk's Book of Spells has been translated into 72 languages, one of which is the mermaid language. Penelope still looked absent-minded. At this time, she was like a search engine, inputting questions and getting answers that were not irrelevant, but did not meet the questions. Just say you don't know. The current setting of this game is to spray Grindylows. Every time you shoot, you can get the pronunciation of a word in the mermaid language. By the way, in addition to the language, there may be summoning cards. Ryan conjured a card with a shining gold border. On it was a blue creature with a head and front body like a horse, and a tail and back body like a big fish, a sea monster with a horse head and a fish tail. What's the use? This is Kate. Shouldn't this be green? This is the knowledgeable Penelope, who to be honest doesn't look like a little witch from Muggle. This can increase your speed so that you can keep up with the faster and faster Grindylows. Okay, without further ado, the game begins. With Ryan's order, Kate and Penelope had 2 more Lobo worms in their hands. Chapter 72 Grindylow. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the magnificent seabed, Penelope and Kate held 2 grey Lobo worms, giving people the feeling of sweeping the floor with a vacuum cleaner. It was not until Ryan shouted to start that Penelope came back to her senses. The seabed covered with snow-white gravel below her continued to grow red, blue, purple, and various corals. In the holes of the corals, green monsters kept poking their heads out. Good guy, this thing also has green teeth, long fingers, and pointed horns on its head. Hee, Grindylows are not simple. They mainly rely on very long fingers to attack fish, and even sneak attack muggles and wizards passing by the water. Their strongest point, fingers, are also their weakness. That is, Grindylow's fingers are very slender and powerful, but they are brittle and fragile. The best way to get rid of them is to make them unable to catch themselves, so that they can relax their strength. That is, the extraction spell can deal with them very well. Kate said proudly. In the sea water, her black hair was tightly attached to her fair skin. They also became much longer, covering her private parts. No, the extraction spell will only turn into a hot water column underwater. It is useful, but not very useful. And our task is to shoot as many Grindylows as possible with the Lobo worm. Penelope said cautiously. It was magical to say that although he could feel the warm sea water at the bottom of the sea, he spoke and breathed like he was on land, but the only shame is this outfit. If it weren't for his hair becoming much longer and covering things that shouldn't be exposed, otherwise, Ryan, the little devil, would never let him go. Penelope gave Ryan a fierce look, and Kate came over to discuss tactics. Hey. Aren't you curious? Why is it a shooting game, and it has to be scored? Is the pronunciation of the mermaid language words that fall a reward? This is obviously a confrontation game. Ryan reminded on the side, and then said that there was a mysterious gift, intending to interrupt Penelope's plan. Penelope was unshakable. In the short movement just now, she found that the speed and movement form under the sea were different from those on land. She seemed to have grown a fish tail. As long as she thought about the direction she wanted to go, the fish tail would slide with her. She knew that even if Ryan was playing a prank, it would not be without reason. Without a magic wand, the Lobo worm was the secret to dealing with Grindylow. The next step was to test the effect of the venom and then change her strategy according to her. Next, it was up to Kate. Then, the slaughter, which was pleasing to Ryan but boring, began. After Kate used her height advantage to test the effect of the venom in the coral, Mtnovel followed Kate closely in the blind spot, catching the fish that escaped the net for her, and slowly counted in her mind according to the effective time of the venom she observed. 1, 3, 5. A charming, wise woman who is strategizing is really more attractive. As expected, soon, the gold card appeared, accompanied by the waves that knocked everything around, and the horse-headed fish-tailed sea monster appeared. It lowered its big head. At Mtnovel's signal, Kate jumped up, while Mtnovel stood still and adjusted the angle. With the help of the horse-headed fish-tailed sea monster, the game soon came to the end. Ryan, what is the extra reward you mentioned? Mtnovel held her head high and took Kate with her, riding the horse-headed fish-tailed sea monster, and swam around Ryan. Ryan looked unsatisfied, which made Mtnovel blush, but Kate seemed not to notice and asked questions while pulling Ryan's arm. Okay, one of the rewards of the game is this. Ryan's voice fell, and the falling golden and black notes formed two books, one flying to Mtnovel and the other flying to Kate. Under the impact of too much knowledge, Mtnovel and Kate began to be dazed. In the field of consciousness, everything passed quickly. Mtnovel and Kate seemed to have spent a long time, and they remembered the pronunciation and meaning of the mermaid language with difficulty. Then, Ryan's voice sounded, and his voice had a wonderful magic, which gradually soothed the brain that had just remembered a lot of things. And the winner is you, Kate, and the reward is. Ryan deliberately stretched out his voice. What is the reward? Kate couldn't hold back her temper and kept hitting Ryan with the tablet. Mtnovel couldn't bear it and pulled it a few times, but Kate didn't seem to notice. Okay, the reward is ding ding ding. Then, the two people's consciousness left Ryan's mind. In reality, Ryan took out a gorgeously packaged box and handed it to Kate. Kate opened it without hesitation and took out a wristband with a knob on the base. This wristband absorbs and stores sunlight during the day. At night, or when you need it, turn it to dispel darkness and bring light. Ryan emphasized. What? It's just a portable version of the magic lamp. Kate said disdainful words while groping with a smile, showing off in front of Penelope from time to time. Kate Leinster. You little dwarf. Penelope finally couldn't help but quarrel with Kate. Kate, the light emitted by this wristband is not ordinary sunlight. Even the glorious hand that makes people's eyes darken can't block its light. Ryan introduced. Although Ryan is familiar with alchemy, I don't have much interest, but before time travel, that is, before he was 7 years old, Ryan had been working hard to specialize in alchemy and inherited Smith's alchemy skills that have been passed down for thousands of years. Although this work is a casual work, it is not ordinary. Next, after the fight was over, Ryan ordered another 3-point nut ice cream and started chatting about his trip to France with Penelope as the core, but the strange thing is that when it comes to key points, Penelope always changes the topic, and Kate also cooperates with him. On the other hand, in Flint's eyes, these three strange little wizards suddenly began to communicate. The little wizard even gave a gift to one of the witches, which eventually led to a fight. Your industry is in such chaos, are you already behind the times? Not far away, Ryan noticed Flint's eyes and couldn't help but cursed. This is the poor boss who was captured by the Death Eaters and killed because he knew the secret of Ravenclaw's diadem and the Elder Wand. How do Death Eaters know these things? It's not because this guy likes to show off his knowledge casually. Finally, after Ryan accompanied Penelope and Kate to buy textbooks and supplies for the next semester, he couldn't wait to leave. Chapter 73 New Book for Sale. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the following days, everything was calm. The only difference was that after experiencing the trip to the underwater city, Ryan fully realized that he was not indispensable, and the wizards did not need him to save them. Even if the underwater wizards were removed, the confusion spell, the foundation of modern wizards, is not also slowly improving. Maybe one day, it will be as advanced as the legendary Fidelia spell, and the entire wizarding world will be passed into the hearts of wizards. Then nuclear bombs, or weapons with larger yields, will not pose any threat to wizards. Did Dumbledore see this? After all, Muggle studies has always been an elective course after the second year of Hogwarts, and it is also one of the ordinary wizarding level exams, OWL. Then, something different appeared in the wizarding world. On July 29, 1991, at Flourish and Blott's bookstore, a large group of young wizards crowded outside the store, all waiting for something enthusiastically. A large banner was pulled upstairs. Doraemon, Dinosaur Kingdom is on pre-sale at half price. That a legendary gold card is also included, signed by the author. 1:30 p.m. today, while stocks last. At the same time, the theme song of the comics is constantly heard in Flourish and Blott's bookstore. Every day is the same. Sometimes I have sudden ideas. As long as I have Doraemon, my dreams will be infinitely extended. Share with me when I am happy. Be by my side when I am sad. Take a look at his magic pocket and you can forget your troubles. Go to faraway places to seek the legendary treasure. Ong ong ong, Doraemon and I will let our dreams shine. Ong ong ong, Doraemon and I will let our dreams shine. In a corner of the crowd, three figures with fiery red hair are particularly eye-catching. They are gathering together and whispering. Fred, will our mother find us when we come out? A tall, thin, freckled, long-nosed red-haired child said worriedly. I'm not Fred, I'm George. Another red-haired boy who looked older said, honestly, dear Ronnie, how come you can't tell that I'm George? Okay, George. The boy called Ronnie said helplessly. Just kidding, I'm Fred. The boy said playfully, and before the younger boy had time to get angry, the twin brother next to him said, okay, Ron, Fred, just tell Mom that you came to queue up for Ginny. And Dad also likes this book, saying that it brings him a lot of inspiration. The boy who should be Fred said. You know, if you get a gold card, or even an autograph, you can sell it for 10 gold galleons. The boy who should be George said. If it were me, I wouldn't sell it. Ron, who had red hair, a long nose, and freckles, said. That's you, we have all planned it out. You know, this book is only half price now, and it's not expensive, only 2 galleons, and we only buy 1 copy. George said. Yeah, just 1. When you all finish reading, it's mine. Ron muttered. No, 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 Ron, if you only buy 1, how can you guarantee that you will win the prize? Fred took out 2 gold galleons from his pocket mischievously. The extra 2 will be sold when the time comes. Maybe we can make another profit. George said. Then soon, 1:30 came, and George and Fred took the lead, like 2 running bludgers, quickly inserted into the crowd, and soon ran out with 3 books printed with blue-skinned civet cats. Fred, can't each person only take 1? Ron, who was still outside and couldn't squeeze in, lowered his voice in surprise. This is the technique of Muggles performing magic. Many wizards think that learning this kind of Muggle trick is a waste of time, but we think it is also a technique, especially when hiding things. George said, and Fred blinked mischievously on the side. Of course, I gave 3 gold galleons. Unfortunately, it's just a silver card, anywhere door, but I just need this one. Fred said in a relaxed tone. Mine is a bamboo dragonfly, a bronze card. George couldn't help sighing and hugged his twin brother's head. No way, this is a devil's passport. Ron was surprised to pull out a card shining with gold light, on which was a red thin-covered book with black clown marks on the cover. Gold card. That long-nosed kid has a gold card. It must be the Weasley family. Here, this is what you got, take it and sell it for money. Remember to negotiate a good price. Ron laughed dryly, took out the gold card with reluctance, and handed it to Fred, the twin brother. Something unexpected happened. Fred and George stopped the crowd at the same time. Gold card, we won't sell it. Yes, we want to keep it for ourselves. Seeing the 2 people's firm attitude, the people who heard the sound gradually dispersed. Some of them kept muttering some abusive slang, and some were unwilling to give up and prepared to buy another one. "You are crazy." Ron was stunned. "I have to give you something new. And this is what you drew. But your book will be given to Ginny." The twins said in unison, and then snatched the brand new book from Ron's hand. "That Weasley brat is so lucky." This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. "But, Ryan, your book is really popular, you brat." Kate, who is almost in the 5th grade and still a dwarf, said. "Little brat, is the little brat as big as me?" Ryan smiled evilly and made the classic action of the old monkey who delivered Simba and the Lion King, lifting Kate high. 3 years later, Ryan was almost at school age, and the secret of his age was naturally exposed, as was the problem of Penelope's origin. During these 3 years, Ryan also started his own innovation and brought Doraemon to this world. It was unexpectedly popular, and even Malfoy, who claimed to be a noble among pure bloods, was seen by Ryan secretly buying his book. The protagonist of the story was changed to Luke Skywalker, an ordinary British boy, a muggle, whose father was Anakin Skywalker and mother was Padmé Amidala. Luke's grades were very poor at Jedi Elementary School. He was called out by his teacher Obi-Wan Kenobi to stand in the corner all day long. The person he liked was Mara Jade, who was bullied by the bully Darth Vader and his henchman Dooku Conti all day long. Mara Jade also seemed to like Qui-Gon Jinn, the best student in the class. Finally, on a day when he got 0 points again, Doraemon appeared, claiming to be his descendant Ben Skywalker sent back from the future, as a family nanny-type Doraemon, to change his grandfather's miserable future. Then, a plain and exciting life began. Whenever Luke was hit, Doraemon would take out various props from his magic pocket. Because of this comic, Ryan took the time to improve the production method of the current comic book in the magic world. The characters in the picture book can not only move, but now they can even talk, although it is only in the plot. Unlike the magic painting, which can have intelligent dialogue, it is undoubtedly a breakthrough. The theme song of Doraemon is also a recorded singing of Penelope, and Kate participated in the card production and design. Just now, because there were so many people, Penelope went to Florin ice cream shop to buy ice cream first, leaving Kate and Ryan waiting there, and together they bought the books, materials and supplies needed for school. Chapter 74 Birthday. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It has been a few days since Ryan's new book was sold. Today is July 31st, 1991, Ryan's birthday, and also the birthday of Harry Potter, the boy who survived a catastrophe. Presumably, by this time, he should have known his identity as a wizard, met the gamekeeper, the last Hagrid, and the king of monsters, Rubeus Hagrid. As for why it is said to be the last, the original book did not mention that Hagrid and Madame Maxime, the headmaster of Beauxbatons, France, continued to be together and gave birth to offspring. 17 years after Voldemort's death, when Harry's child went to school, he only mentioned that his son should remember to go to Hagrid's hut for tea. Presumably, Hagrid should still be in Hogwarts at that time, and even still teaching magical biology. It is noon now, and Ryan's birthday is spent in Smith Castle. In order to welcome the guests, with the help of the main god of the castle's hearth, Ryan completed the largest alchemical work that surpassed the previous smiths in these 3 years. That is a new, large-scale work that is consistent with the previous castle. It serves as a substitute for the real castle and a projection of the present world, while the real residence, the core, is hidden in the new dimension that Ryan opened up with the help of the Lord God. Yes, dimension. The Fidelia spell is also based on this principle. Find a wizard as the secret keeper for the address of the place you want to hide, and hide it in the soul of the secret keeper, or in the heart of the secret keeper. After the magic takes effect, the hidden residence is like being in another dimension. As long as the secret keeper does not reveal the secret, according to the original words of Professor River Ivy who introduced this magic, as long as the secret keeper refuses to speak, the mysterious man will never find them even if he searches the village where the Potters have lived for many years, even if he flattens his nose on the glass window outside their living room. And the Lord God is the secret keeper, an immortal and indestructible spirit that cannot be read by others. In this way, Smith Castle is truly independent from this world, and Ryan is invincible. Ryan looked at the time. In the open space of the castle, the teleportation array gradually lit up, and Penelope and Kate, who were wearing bracelets that served as the keys to the teleportation array, appeared. A piece of lawn in front of the castle has been turned into a cave, with twinkling fairy lights inside. This means there are hundreds of living fairies. They are either sitting in the rose bushes created by magic, or flapping their wings on the statues. Those statues look like various mighty magical creatures. At a glance, the more common ones are phoenixes and thunderbirds. However, the beautiful scenery that Ryan prepared in advance was greatly overshadowed by the two beautiful ladies. Penelope has blonde hair and looks full of intellectuality. She is wearing a flowing blue robe, but it can't hide her tall and hot figure. Kate has a black doll head and is also wearing a white dress robe for wizards to participate in the party. She is small and cute. Welcome to Smith Castle. Happy birthday, Ryan. Penelope said, handing Ryan a gift. Happy birthday, little brat. This is a gift. Kate almost jumped to Ryan's side and took out a necklace and put it around Ryan's neck. Why is it not wrapped? Ryan fumbled with the necklace and pretended to complain. This is just an ordinary necklace with a magic to keep it clean. As long as it is in an environment with many wizards or is worn by a wizard, it will never rust. Who are these fairies? Penelope asked in confusion. These little people were found in a forest not far away. You know they are vain creatures and often allow wizards to use them as decorations. It is precisely because of this vanity that they will constantly dress themselves up. This also makes their aesthetics far superior to wizards, which allows them to decorate the castle for me and escape their natural enemy, the divination bird. And they're insect-like, transparent, colorful, renewable, painless to remove. Purely decorative wings are also very useful and can be used as potion materials. The only bad thing is that taking off their wings will make them very angry and feel that they are not beautiful. If you want to raise them, you also need to drive away the tree guards around them. They sometimes eat fairy eggs. Ryan explained. Decorate the castle. I heard from you, Ryan, that you want them to decorate the castle, not as decorations. Kate was surprised. How did you do it, Ryan? They were originally used as holiday decorations by many wizards, but with their low intelligence and the fact that they can only make buzzing sounds, they can't communicate at all. How did you get them to design the castle? Penelope was also surprised. Okay, can't I communicate with other creatures without speaking? Today is my birthday. Come and see what the castle looks like now. Ryan's thoughts have been connected to the Lord God. As everyone walked into the hall, the music started automatically, and the decoration of the castle changed accordingly. The handrails of the marble staircase began to be hung with icicles that never melted. Various small toys began to emerge from the trees that were usually placed in the auditorium, from the shiny holly berries to the living golden phoenix that kept chirping. The Gublai fairy fire, which served as a light, also turned into a beautiful jungle fairy, singing birthday songs with the music. At this time, the entire castle seemed to be condensed with white frost, and from a distance, it looked like gingerbread cookies covered with icing sugar. Delicious food suddenly appeared on the empty table, including a variety of desserts, stews, and fried foods, all of which were Ryan, Kate, and Penelope's favorite dishes. Then, the host and the guests had a great time, and time soon came to the evening. Penelope and Kate came forward one by one to hug and say goodbye. Soon, Ryan was the only one left in the castle that was just bustling. At this time, it should be the time when Harry Potter has just finished visiting Diagon Alley, bought school supplies, and returned to the Muggle world he hates with Hagrid. Ryan thought while looking at the dim sky. Bored, Ryan suddenly came to Paddington Station, the home of the Dursleys, at number 4 Privet Drive. Ryan appeared in the crowd and no one noticed. Not far away, a tall figure was waving goodbye to the departing train. It was a thin boy who knelt in front of the window, his nose pressed against the window, staring at the tall figure until he went away. Race, wizard, strength, 4, normal limit is 10, constitution, 17, normal limit is 10, magic, 30, normal limit is 10, skills, Parseltongue LV5, 34%. Mathematics LV3, 12%, these are Harry Potter's data. He has a strong potential for magic, especially when compared to the more outstanding aurors among adult wizards who are in their 20s, however, wizards' magic grows very slowly. There is no sound training method at all. They can only let it grow with age. Even Rubeus Hagrid, a descendant of Hagrid, has only improved his magic a little bit in the past few years, to 26. Chapter 75 First Encounter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ryan stood in the crowd, but couldn't help laughing. The character he wanted to be in his childhood appeared in front of him so dramatically. Although he had read the original book, he felt like he had met an old friend when he grew up with Harry Potter. He even forced himself not to go to number 4 Privet Drive to observe this boy with the same fate as himself for nearly 4 years. He shouldn't laugh in this situation, but with Ryan's physique, even if the train was running at high speed, Ryan could see clearly. Now Harry Potter, clinging to the glass tightly, his nose became flat and big, very funny, with the pair of green eyes, absolutely. Ryan suppressed the corners of his mouth that couldn't stop bending, and the whole person was like an invisible ghost, floating in the air, clinging to Harry's carriage, and the whole person was immersed in observing Harry Potter. Harry's whole person, no, the whole wizard was very strange. Unlike ordinary wizards, he actually had traces of 3 kinds of magic on his body. One is love, selfless maternal love, tightly wrapped around every inch of his skin, even his soul. The second kind of magic gives people a cold and ominous feeling, cold and dead, deeply intertwined with Harry Potter's own magic. If Ryan's reconnaissance skills had not reached level 5 in the past 3 years, it would probably be impossible to detect this. Needless to say, the third kind is Harry Potter's own magic, which is extremely pure and full of vitality, like the dew in the morning. It is hard to imagine that this is the magic that a child who grew up in a cold and violent environment can have. I really fell into the barrier of knowledge and understanding. The magic of love. Isn't Harry Potter the best example? It's really rare, the first living Horcrux in history. Ryan couldn't help thinking, while virtualizing his body into the dimension where Smith Castle was located, avoiding the tunnel that suddenly appeared. Horcruxes are exactly the opposite of human souls. When the human body is used as a container for the soul, if the body is damaged, the soul will not be harmed. Whether the soul fragments in the Horcrux can survive depends entirely on whether its container is intact. Once the container is damaged beyond repair, the soul fragments inside will also disappear, and Harry Potter is this container, which gives Ryan a sense of déjà vu of seeing the magical version of the Jinchuriki in Naruto. Voldemort was defeated by Avada Kedavra, which was rebounded by Lily Evans's protection spell, on October 31, 1981, and turned into a form worse than the humblest ghost. At that time, Voldemort marked Harry Potter and made a Horcrux that he didn't even know about, the protection of the Horcrux to his own body, the spell of Lily Evans' sacrifice of her love, and the magic that Harry Potter himself had been suppressed. These 3 have long been integrated into one for 10 years, as long as Harry Potter is threatened or emotional. Voldemort's part and Lily Evans's love will appear to protect Harry. Just like Quirrell, it was fine to hold Harry's hand in the leaky cauldron, but when Harry's life was threatened, he was smeared in the face by Harry's hands with the protection spell, and then fell to the street. Even if Quirrell has Voldemort in him, Harry also has 1/7 of Voldemort in him. It's still unclear who is the eldest brother and who is the second brother. With the clanging sound of the train running, the magic power of Harry that belongs to Lily Evans gradually becomes active, and invisible magic threads are constantly coming from number 4, Privet Drive, Harry's only maternal relative. From Ryan's perspective, Harry's negative emotions of just separating from Hagrid and meeting the Dursleys were diluted by an inexplicable love, and the part that belongs to Voldemort was digested again. That 1/7 of Voldemort has long since turned into pure magic. The soul fragments are still there, but the consciousness has long been chaotic, just as a part of Harry Potter, his sword to the outside world. Yes, no matter which Horcrux, it has self-awareness, can think about bewitching others, and even revive with the lives of others, but the one in Harry Potter only has power left. Is this why Dumbledore insisted on leaving Harry Potter at the Dursleys' house? To better digest Voldemort's consciousness? Ryan touched his chin, still remaining indistinct in the air, lying on his side. Ryan finally made a decision, and his thinking skills were running fast. From the real Smith Castle, a candlelight that no one could observe emerged from the air and attached to Harry's scar. "Harry, Harry, you have 2 magical powers in your body, and I'm here to join in the fun," Ryan said with a smirk. However, Harry Potter obviously looks different from Daniel in the movie version of Harry. The real Harry is more delicate, with more delicate features. His hairstyle is the chicken coop hair inherited from the Potter family, neither long nor short. "I'm really envious," Ryan sighed. The chicken coop hair of the Potter family, although it looks messy at first glance, is still very handsome overall. In fact, each Potter doesn't need to cut his hair, and will always maintain the inherent length. Harry's Aunt Petunia once wanted to destroy this terrible haircut, which was the same as James's, because every time Harry got a haircut, it looked like he had never had a haircut. One time, Petunia couldn't help it, so she took a pair of scissors from the kitchen and cut almost all of Harry's hair, leaving only a lock of hair in the front to cover his terrible scar. But when he got up the next morning, Harry's hair was back to the way it was before Petunia cut it. This kind of hair that doesn't need to be managed by oneself, and the hairstyle, is really a blessing for lazy people. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Ryan's hair does not have such magic, and can only rely on the control of the body brought by the body transformation skills to control the development of hair, so as to maintain clean and neat hair. Thinking of this, he happened to have followed Harry to number 4 Privet Drive. In order to distract Dumbledore's possible attention, Ryan specially converted another magic power, a magic power from a dark wizard Ryan met while strolling around Knockturn Alley, and then disappeared on the spot. The next day, the sun shone into the study of Smith Castle. Ryan took the latest Daily Prophet and read it with breakfast. Sure enough, in addition to the unexpected picture and text of Ron taking a photo with the gold card, a piece of news attracted Ryan's attention. The Ministry of Magic raided Knockturn Alley and arrested many dark wizards. According to unknown sources, this was related to Ludo Bagman's illegal gambling. However, the news that the dark wizards tried to break into Gringotts has not been published in the newspapers. As far as Ryan knows, Quirrell broke into Gringotts just after Hagrid took the Philosopher's Stone hidden in Gringotts. Huh. What a pity. If Ludo Bagman is caught, what about the VIP tickets for the 4th grade Quidditch World Cup for Arthur Weasley's family? Will Harry Potter still go to the World Cup? Is it possible that Crouch Jr. can escape and be discovered by Voldemort? No, Voldemort went to the Crouch family himself. He learned about Crouch Jr. from Bertha Jorkins. Ryan breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, a vague skill began to appear. Love LV1, 1%. Chapter 76 King's Cross Station. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Oh, the power from Harry is back. Ryan smiled slightly. In addition, he suddenly thought that Ludo Bagman's capture would not affect anything, and Ryan suddenly felt a little fortunate. In this way, Voldemort would use Harry's blood to revive, and his daily life would not be affected or broken. The next second, this kind of relief was shaken by the sudden shame. Ryan suddenly found that an innocent witch was affected in the process. Morality is not a necessity for people who are at risk of their own survival, but Ryan clearly understood that he was different. He was different from those ordinary time travelers. For Ryan now, maintaining the plot is not a necessity. In the case that he can protect himself in this world, or even be invincible, morality is not something that can be abandoned. Compared with Harry Potter, who accompanied him in his childhood, Bertha Jorkins is just a minor supporting role, an unimportant role, but in the real world, she is also a living life. And she also has people who care about her and care about her. Bertha Jorkins, a witch who originally had an extraordinary memory, and liked to pry into people's privacy, was cast into the forgetting spell because she unfortunately discovered Crouch's secret and finally became forgetful. In the summer vacation after Harry's 3rd year, when he was traveling in Albania, he discovered Wormtail out of curiosity and followed him, and was finally subdued by Wormtail, out of some creepy and evil taste. Voldemort did not read Bertha Jorkins' memory directly, but tortured her many times to make her reveal a lot of things. For example, the matter of the Triwizard Tournament. The old Auror Moody was going to teach at Hogwarts. This may be because Voldemort's magic level easily saw through the fact that Bertha was cast into the forgetting spell. In this case, even Legilimency could not read the memory that even the host himself had forgotten. Finally, under continued high-intensity torture, Voldemort broke the forgetting spell cast by Crouch with intense and uninterrupted pain, letting Voldemort know that there was another loyal Death Eater. What a terrible torture this is, although in serious mouth, she is a silly guy, she is particularly nosy, but she has no brains, absolutely no brains, it is easy to fall into other people's traps. But this does not mean that she deserves to die. Time soon came to September 1st. In order not to cause criticism, Ryan came to King's Cross Station alone, instead of choosing to be with Penelope and Kate. Of course, the main reason is to watch a movie, a real movie. Ryan clearly remembered that Harry Potter arrived at the station at 10:30, because he couldn't find the entrance. He dragged it to 10:50, and there were still 10 minutes before the departure. Only with the help of the Weasley family did he find the entrance. Now it is 10:30, Ryan took out the pocket watch from his pocket, not to check the time, but to inadvertently show that he still needs a pocket watch to confirm the time, like a normal wizard. After all, Ryan's thinking space has the most accurate clock imaginable, which allows Ryan to know exactly what minute and second it is any time and anywhere. Sure enough, two figures appeared not far away. At first glance, they might be misunderstood as having a good relationship. The fat middle-aged man stood in front of the car, gently put the skinny boy's suitcase on the handcart, and helped him push it into the station. Then he stopped at the platform, and the fat middle-aged man grinned with ulterior motives. "Okay, you're here, kid, platform 9, platform 10. Your platform should be between these two platforms, but it looks like it hasn't been built yet, right? Good luck with your semester," the fat middle-aged man said with another grin, which seemed even more unkind. He returned to the car leisurely and laughed with the other two people on the car, a thin woman with a long neck and a boy who was so fat that his neck could not be seen, as if they had won the lottery. Between a platform with a big plastic sign with the number 9 and another with a big plastic sign with the number 10, the boy stood alone. His lips seemed a little dry, and he couldn't stop licking them. This is Harry Potter. When Harry was about to stop a passing guard because of Hedwig, Ryan patted Harry on the shoulder. "Hey, you are also a freshman at Hogwarts. Hello, my name is Ryan Smith," Ryan said with a cynical smile. "Well, yes, you are too," but Harry nodded hurriedly, and what came into his eyes was a boy who was as perfect as a god, with big moon-like eyes, black and beautiful hair and a mouthful of white and neat teeth. Harry couldn't help blushing, but strangely, there was no one around who was attracted by the boy's appearance, and what's even stranger is that this freshman was lightly dressed and had no other salutes at all. Did you put your luggage on the bus?" Harry licked his lips and replied nervously. No, it's right on me. "Oh, I'm almost 40. You are Harry Potter, right?" "Harry, platform 9 3/4 is at the third pillar between platforms 9 and 10. Just go straight to the ticket gate between platforms 9 and 10. Don't stop, don't be afraid, just rush in, this is very important. If you are nervous, just run," Ryan pointed out, copying Mrs. Weasley's words in the original book. "Oh, okay. But how did you?" Harry said. Ryan didn't reply, pointing to Harry's forehead, where the lightning-shaped scar was. So with Ryan's help, the car turned around. Harry's eyes stared at the entrance, Ryan said, and he gritted his teeth and walked towards it. In Ryan's perspective, just as Harry walked to the junction of platforms 9 and 10, a large group of passengers suddenly rushed in front of Ryan, and when the last large canvas backpack was moved away, Harry disappeared. "It's really interesting, this is the way to prevent muggles from seeing the new students. There are muggles among these passengers, not all of them are disguised as wizards." Thinking, Ryan also rushed into the entrance. Ryan opened his eyes. A crimson steam locomotive stopped next to the platform full of passengers. The sign on the train read, "Hogwarts Express, 11 o'clock. Ryan looked back and saw that the place where the ticket gate used to be had now become a wrought iron archway with the words, "Platform 9 3/4 written on it. The smoke from the steam locomotive lingered above the chattering crowd, and cats of various colors darted around under people's feet, amid the buzzing of the crowd and the noise of dragging heavy luggage. Owls also hooted harshly, one calling the other. The first few carriages were already filled with students, some of them leaning out of the windows to talk to their families, and some playing around in their seats. Harry, pushing a cart, stood not far away and waved at Ryan. Looking closely, Harry had already covered the scar on his forehead tightly with his hair. Chapter 77 Cat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was already 11 o'clock in the morning, and the train had already started to move. Ryan and Harry found an empty compartment and sat down. Interestingly, Harry Potter was so thin and weak, like a little girl. With Ryan's help, he pulled the suitcase onto the train and put it in the corner of the compartment. By the way, Harry, do you remember which pets are allowed in the admission letter? Ryan suddenly said. Students can bring an owl, a cat, or a toad. Harry said the answer. Although he had read the admission letter hundreds of times, the little bit of insecurity brought by his growing environment made Harry still a little hesitant. By the way, what pets do you remember are the most common on the train? Ryan prompted. Cat. Harry was stumped by another question before he could be happy when he heard that he was right. Wrong, it's an owl. Since I got on the train, I found that you are not used to cats. You have unnaturally glanced at all the cats you met along the way many times. Ryan said. Ryan, every year on Dudley's birthday, my cousin, his parents always take him and another friend out for a day, go to the amusement park, eat hamburgers, or watch a movie. Leave me to Mrs. Fig, a crazy old woman who lives 2 streets away from here. I hate where Mrs. Fig lives. The whole house smells like cabbage. She also insisted that he look at the photos of several cats she had raised in the past. This year, on Dudley's other birthday, Mrs. Fig accidentally broke her leg. I know I should feel sad about it, but when I think that it will take a whole year before I can see Tick, Cher, Mr. Claw and Mau Mau, all cats' names, again, I don't feel sad anymore. Maybe this is why I reject cats. Harry said a lot of words and breathed a sigh of relief. For some reason, Harry was willing to say these things to the boy he just met. After saying some emotions that shouldn't be there, Harry felt as if he had taken a hot bath. Harry, do you know why I suddenly asked you the question just now? Ryan said with a smirk. Why? Harry said. Ding dong ding ding. Look, this is the pet I brought to school, Jerry. Ryan took out a coal-black kitten from his pocket. At this time, it was constantly purring, with its limbs and paws curled up. In Harry's eyes, this cat had a beauty that even he, who hated cats, could not deny, but it gave him a very dangerous feeling, like standing naked in the snow. Fortunately, the sliding door of the compartment opened, and a child with fiery red hair walked in. Ryan saw this and seemingly put Jerry back into his pocket, but actually put him back in the cat bed of Smith Castle. Is anyone here? He pointed to the seat opposite Harry and asked. Everywhere else is full. Harry shook his head. Ryan stroked his forehead slightly, and it seemed that Ron's words in the original book that other places were full were probably true. Ryan originally thought that Harry was first discovered by the Weasley twins, and then Ron heard the news and rushed to chase the star. It seemed that he really couldn't find a seat. The boy sat down, glanced at Harry, and suddenly hesitated. It turned out that Harry had just seen Jerry and felt a little nervous, so he accidentally revealed the scar on his forehead. Oh my God! Are you? Ron was speechless for a long time. What is it? Harry asked. Harry Potter. Ron gasped. Oh, him. Harry said, yes, I am. Ron still stared at Harry blankly, and Harry felt his face flushed. Hey! There is still a living person here. Hello, my name is Ryan Smith. Ryan said, and Ryan couldn't help but sigh that if one of them switched genders, it would probably be a different style. Well, hello, my name is Ron Weasley. Ron came back to his senses and introduced himself to Ryan and Harry. Then the sliding door of the compartment suddenly opened again. Hey, Ron. A pair of twin brothers came in and looked at Ron. Listen, we need to go to the middle carriage now. Lee Jordan got a big bag spider. Is Harry Potter here? George, Harry is coming to Hogwarts this year, right? Oh. Ron muttered, without answering. "Just now I heard Ron yelling Harry Potter when I passed by," said the other twin brother. "We are Fred and George Weasley. This is Ron, our little brother. See you later. Goodbye." Harry and Ron said. It seems that unlike the original book, Harry Potter was not recognized by the Weasley twins. The news that he was in this carriage would not spread everywhere, and Malfoy probably would not come to the door again. Ryan, who was ignored again, was full of black lines on his head. He also blamed himself for being afraid of being entangled by crazy men and women, which reduced his sense of existence. To be honest, Ryan was surprised that Harry could notice his handsomeness. The twin brothers closed the compartment door casually, then Ron unconsciously looked at Harry's lightning scar and asked Harry rudely if he still remembered Voldemort. Then there was a lull, and Ron and Harry began to introduce each other again. Harry actually noticed Ryan again, which surprised Ryan. "Are all your family wizards?" Harry couldn't help asking the question that interested him the most. "Our whole family is a Ravenclaw graduate, and we are all wizards." Ryan replied, "This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content." Seeing that Ryan was not going to continue talking, Ron started to try to interrupt. "Oh, yes, I guess so," said Ron. "I think my mother had a distant cousin who was an accountant, but we never talked about him." "So you must have learned a lot of magic?" Harry asked curiously. Ryan did not answer, further reducing his presence, wanting to test Harry's perception. "I heard you ended up living with Muggles. How are they?" As soon as Ron heard about magic, he thought about other things. "It's terrible, of course not everyone is like that. But my aunts, uncles and cousins are terrible. I wish I had 3 wizard brothers." 5, said Ron, looking unhappy for some reason. "But they all treat me very well, even though I'll never need anything new. I wear Bill's old robes, and use Charlie's old wand, and Percy throws away the unwanted mice, but I have new stuff too. If you've seen Daily Prophet, you should know that I have obtained the Skywalker gold card," Ron said, reaching into his inner pocket and pulling out a shiny card. "This is the Devil's Passport, which is also a very rare one in Doraemon." Ron's ears turned slightly red. "Skywalker? Who is he?" Harry asked. "He is the author of Doraemon, the greatest author, bar none." "Harry, you really haven't seen Doraemon, have you?" Ron looked at Harry with a sympathetic look, and finally understood how bad Harry's aunt, uncle, and cousin were, not even Doraemon. "Look, are there still such families?" Then he took out a book carefully wrapped in parchment from the suitcase beside him. Chapter 78. Fortunately. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Then, the direction of the plot completely turned upside down. Ron did not take out Scabbers the mouse, but instead opened the first volume of Doraemon. He was so happy that he started sharing it with Harry, and Harry unexpectedly liked it very much. In his words, it was Luke's sky. Walker's experience at school gave him a sense of immediacy, just like his own experience at school. Then Ron once again truly understood Harry's difficulty. "Harry, if someone asks you next time about your previous experiences in the Muggle world, just say it was the same as Luke's experience in Jedi primary school." Ron then verbally criticized Harry again for what he said about his relationship with the bully Darth. Harry's cousin, Dudley, is as annoying as Vader. It was a pity for Ryan. In this situation, no matter how strong Harry's perception was, he probably wouldn't be able to notice him. So he took out a cup of hot black tea and began to observe Harry, borrowing the Lord God's calculations. Strength, together with the proficiency of the love skill. Soon, lunchtime came. During this period, Harry in the original book said Voldemort's name directly, worrying that he was not as good as a student in the wizarding world. If he couldn't keep up with his study progress, he would be buried in a copy of Doraemon. The two of them were chatting and laughing along with the ups and downs of the plot. If the salesperson who had never been named in the original book appeared at 12:30, interrupting everything, they probably wouldn't even be able to think of lunch. This woman with a nice smile and dimples opened the compartment door and asked, "Honey, do you want to buy some food for the car?" Harry, who was already very hungry, jumped up, while Ron began to feel inferior again. His ears turned red, And he muttered that he had brought a sandwich, so there was no need to buy it. Harry, who had never had any change to buy sweets in the Muggle world, spent 11 silver sickles and 7 bronze nuts in one go, buying some of each type of food. This made Ryan stunned. Ryan always thought that he bought one of each kind of food, but it turned out that he bought some of each kind. No wonder Malfoy's follower Goyle couldn't help but want to eat, and then he was bitten by Scabbers in the snack pile. Take a bite. Ron, on the other hand, looked directly at the food that Harry had poured into the empty space, including a large pile of BB's multi-flavor beans, Bubble Super Bubble Gum, chocolate frogs, pumpkin pie, pot cakes, licorice magic wands, etc. Under the influence of hunger, Ron also noticed Ryan next to the snacks and was stunned. "What are you doing?" What are you doing?" Ron stammered. "Isn't Ryan always here?" Harry replied. Ryan, on the other hand, was reading a book, eating the sandwich prepared by Jack, and nodded as a greeting. After Ron was briefly surprised, he couldn't help but look at the pile of snacks and took out a sandwich from the bulging carton. Then, the considerate Harry noticed and forcibly exchanged the pumpkin pie for the sandwich. Ryan reluctantly joined the food exchange. Harry and Ron sat together, munching on the pies and cakes Harry had bought, and occasionally discussing the issue of chocolate frogs. This time, Harry did not draw a picture of Dumbledore from the chocolate frog for the first time, but a picture of the funny weirdo Uric. For some unknown reason, the sandwiches made by Ryan and Mrs. Weasley were also ignored by Ron and Harry. This is not surprising to Ryan. After all, the two of them are brothers in need. Harry has not had the opportunity to eat snacks since he was a child, and Ron, with so many people in his family, rarely has the opportunity to eat so many snacks at once. Unlike Ron and Harry, Ryan picked up the canned corned beef sandwich that was very dry in Ron's mouth and ate his own sandwich. It was surprisingly delicious. Ron didn't think it tasted good because he was probably tired of eating too much. After a while, Harry pulled out Dumbledore from the chocolate frog. He also had Morgana, Hongies, Alboric, Ses, Parather, Merlin, and the Druids. Cards for characters such as the cultist Cleona. After a while, Harry walked out of the chocolate frog carnival and stretched out his chocolate-covered hand to BB's multi-flavored beans. Ron on the side warned, "Be careful when eating this." For example, his brother George had the misfortune to eat a bean that smelled like dried beef. At this time, a knock on the door interrupted Ron and Harry's conversation. "I'm sorry, I want to ask, have you seen my toad?" A boy with a round face was full of tears. This must be Neville, and Ryan noticed that Neville actually glanced at him. After Harry and Ron shook their heads in unison, they started crying again. "I lost it again. It always wants to run away from me." Harry stood up and comforted him, and soon the room became calm again, while Ron complained that if he bought a toad, he would find a way to get rid of it as soon as possible, the sooner the better. "But now that I have taken Ban with me, I have nothing to say." "Scabbers? That's it?" Harry asked curiously. Ron didn't answer. He reached into his inner pocket and pulled out a fat gray mouse. It was sleeping. "His name is Scabbers, and he's useless and sleeps all day long. Percy became a prefect, and my dad gave him an owl, and they couldn't afford it. They gave me the mouse." Ron's ears turned red and he fell into inferiority again. Harry smiled and said nothing. Fortunately, at this time, a little girl with thick hair and a pair of big front teeth opened the door and walked in. She had changed into Hogwarts clothes. After glancing at the Doryman that Ron carefully placed aside, she asked again directly if he had seen Neville's toad. After getting the answer that no, she left neatly. Unlike the original book, perhaps Hermione did not interrupt Ron's pretense, using the magic wand to cast a spell on Scabbers, failed, and made a fool of herself, said a long paragraph to show off her knowledge, and did not point out that there was something dirty on the tip of Ron's nose like in the movie. Her appearance just happened to ease the embarrassment. This made Harry and Ron have a good impression of her. "So the boy's name is Neville. But she is really nice. What's her name?" Ron muttered to himself. "Good guy, Ron really likes this one, and now he reads it." Ryan shook his head and felt speechless. "She didn't say." Harry said, Then the two guys started to feast again. Fortunately, Hermione is a beauty from Ryan's adult aesthetics, but she just doesn't know how to dress up. But she obviously has no similarities with Emma's version of Hermione in the movie, otherwise it would be difficult for me to control myself from being a jerk to her. If she is very similar to Emma, I probably can't control the feelings of a fan meeting a star. You know, this is different from the bad reputation Miss Watson in real life. This is the real movie version of Hermione. In that case, would be sorry for Penelope and Kate, fortunately. Chapter 79 Crouch in Trouble. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. With Ron's uncontrollable burp, the battle for snacks finally ended. Ron blushed again, because of his rudeness. At the same time, he put away the remaining sandwiches without leaving a trace and put them on the other side. Harry, on the other hand, felt comfortable with Ron's frankness. He was different from other charming bitches in the wizarding world. He did not regard himself as a savior at all, but there was another person, that was. At this time, in order to change the subject, Ron began to talk about the news from the Daily Prophet. Harry, have you heard of Crouch? Ron said. No, is he? Said Harry. It starts with Bertha Jorkins, who my dad said was always a troublemaker but had a good memory. As soon as she graduated, she worked at the Daily Prophet for a short period of time, and then entered the Ministry of Magic. However, because she was too nosy, she was expelled from one department in just a few months. Go to another department and cause more trouble than you get done. In the end, Ludo Bagman, who had been gambling, accepted her, and she has been working in the Department of Magical Sports and Sports since then. I heard that when she was delivering documents one time, she discovered Crouch Jr., a Death Eater, who had escaped from prison. Then he was bumped into by Crouch Sr., and a powerful forgetting spell was cast on him. But recently, for some reason, she suddenly regained her memory and hurriedly found Ms. Bones and reported the matter. Ron said in surprise, while Ryan smiled slightly and remained silent. Then, little Crouch, this despicable guy, finally entered Azkaban again. Old Crouch probably can't escape either. Ron said excitedly. Death Eaters? Voldemort's minions? Azkaban? Harry said. Ron was so scared that he couldn't breathe. What's wrong? Said Harry. You called out the mysterious man's name. I've thought of it for a long time. Of all the people, you are the only one. Ron said in a shocked and surprised tone, as if he didn't hear Harry's question at all. Saying his name wasn't because I was brave or anything. It's because I never knew the name and couldn't say it. Do you know what I mean? I believe that I have a lot to learn. I dare say, I will definitely be the worst student in the class. Harry said worriedly, completely forgetting the question he just asked. No. There are many students from Muggle families, but they also learn very quickly. Ron comforted. Ryan on the side was very surprised. He didn't expect that the topic that Harry and Ron talked about in the original book would reappear at this time. At this time, the two of them were supposed to be talking about the invasion of Gringotts. However, with Crouch Jr., a Death Eater who was supposed to die in Azkaban, the subject was decidedly more compelling. Then, the compartment door was pushed open again, and three boys came in. Aha, I found you. Red hair, full of freckles, it's Weasley, that's right. You got the Skywalker gold card, right? Said the pale boy. Is it you? Please apologize to Ron. Harry recognized the man in front of him at a glance as the pale boy he met in Madame Malkin's robe shop. Oh, it's you. The boy narrowed his eyes. I remember that you were also born into a wizarding family. You probably don't understand. When you enter Hogwarts, you will soon find that some wizarding families are much better than others. You don't want to be with someone else. Let's make friends. I can help you with that. My name is Malfoy, Draco Malfoy. The boy, completely forgetting his purpose, stretched out his hand to shake Harry's hand. Harry, ignore him. Their family is all bad. They are all from Slytherin House, the house where the mysterious man stayed. Ron opened Malfoy's hand, and then the two men behind Malfoy. Little Fatty was about to step forward, but was stopped by Malfoy. "Oh, I almost forgot, Jinka. Weasley, hand over the gold card, and I can give you 10 gold galleons. With so many gold galleons, your parents will probably be hungry for half a month before they can take it out." "No need to be grateful, I'm just doing this for the gold card," Malfoy said in a condescending tone. "How dare you? How dare you use gold galleons to blaspheme the great Skywalker?" Ron blushed completely. "Okay. Stop interrupting my reading." Ryan finally couldn't sit still. Seeing Ron fighting for his reputation, Ryan couldn't pretend that he didn't exist. The three Malfoys were surprised to find that they suddenly lost the ability to move and were controlled together, floating in the air, and then violently thrown out. Draco Malfoy unexpectedly found that he was not injured. After all, in Ryan's view, although Malfoy was hateful, he could still be considered a fan of his books. There was a faint blush on Malfoy's pale cheeks, and he led Crabbe and Goyle away without looking back. Before leaving, he just stared at Ryan fiercely and muttered something like "my dad." "Ryan, how did you do that?" Ron said in surprise. "As long as you read more books," Ryan replied. Then Hermione Granger came in after hearing the sound. "What happened?" she asked, looking at Ron, who was still very excited. "It's nothing, it's just that someone wants to buy my gold card," Ron said. "Have you met Malfoy before?" Ron seemed to suddenly remember something. It seems that for Ron now, the risk of his good brother Harry being taken away by Malfoy is much more important than Hermione. He is still too young. Harry told Ron about his encounter with Malfoy in Diagon Alley. "I've heard about his family," Ron said gloomily. "After the mysterious man disappeared, they were the first people to come back to us. My father didn't believe it that they were bewitched. He said Malfoy's father easily fell over to the side of the dark forces without making any excuses." Then he turned red again, suddenly remembering that Hermione was still here, and asked, "Do you need any help from us? You'd better change into your robes quickly. I just got to the front of the car and asked the driver, and he said we were almost there." "You didn't fight, did you? You're going to cause trouble before we get there," Hermione said unceremoniously. Said, "Maybe the first image is very important. Ron doesn't look impatient at all in the original work." "Thank you for your concern." Ron scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. "Then we have to change clothes. By the way, what do you call us?" "My name is Hermione Granger. I'm here just because those people outside are too naughty and running up and down the aisles." "It's not the so-called relationship." Hermione raised her eyebrows. Ron's attitude obviously made her very surprised. "Oh, by the way, you have a piece of dirt on your nose, did you know that?" "She must be shy, isn't she, Harry?" said Ron. Chapter 80 Harry is discovered. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was already dark. Ryan saw a mountain and forest under the deep purple sky, and the train slowed down. This meant that Hogwarts was coming, and Ryan was about to become one of them, but Ryan didn't feel happy at all at this time. Kate knew which compartment he was in, but until now, only the Weasley twins, Neville, Hermione, and Malfoy and his little brother had suddenly opened the door of the compartment. Kate or Penelope had not appeared yet. I hope that the sudden position of prefect made Penelope too busy to take time out, and I said before that I wanted to keep a low profile and didn't want to expose the relationship in school. I hope so. Ryan looked at Ron, who was still crazy about him, and prayed to himself, how important is the first impression? Hermione in the original book gave Ron a bad impression. It was not until their fourth year that Ron really realized that Hermione was a girl he liked and was fascinated by. Now, strict but caring about him, Ron thought, gave Ron a feeling of his mother Molly Weasley, plus kindness and helping classmates, which made the awkward Ron not feel guilty about falling in love with a mother-type girl. Ryan pretended to point with his wand, and the coat on his body turned into a black robe of Hogwarts like a flowing plate. Seeing this, Harry and Ron took off their coats and changed into school uniforms before they could be surprised. However, Ron was indeed the tallest in the Weasley family, of the same age, and Bill's old school uniform was still a little short for Ron, which made Ron's sneakers show from the bottom. Then a soft voice suddenly sounded, "The train will arrive at Hogwarts in 5 minutes. Please leave your luggage on the train and we will take you to school." Ryan was shaking slightly with excitement, and Harry, who was so nervous that his stomach was turning up, seemed to have misunderstood something. He breathed a sigh of relief inexplicably, leaving Ron still pale. Harry was considerate enough to attract Ron's attention by cleaning up the unfinished snacks, and inexplicably called Ryan to join him. Time passed quickly, the train stopped, and Ryan and the other two followed the crowd in the aisle and went down to a small dark platform. First-year students. First-year students, come over here. Harry, come over here, how are you? That the tall Hagrid held a lamp above the students' heads, and shouted to the first-year students to come over to him in the crowd, and even greeted Harry next to Ryan. Harry. That's it. Harry Potter. I knew it. He must be on the train. That lucky boy next to Ron is it. Ryan quickly lowered his presence, and passers-by and the surrounding crowd subconsciously avoided Ryan and rushed towards Harry. Hagrid's bearded face showed an obvious panic. He probably didn't expect that Harry was so good at hiding, and almost no one knew his identity until now. Follow me, Harry. Ryan pulled Harry and walked directly towards Hagrid. Everyone along the way subconsciously avoided Ryan's pace. Harry was surprised to see all this, and Ron followed closely behind. First-year students, follow me, watch your step. If you want to see Harry, you can watch hard when you get to Hogwarts. Hagrid said with a sigh of relief when he saw that the situation was somehow under control. However, Hagrid's words made the students further confirm that the Harry he was talking about was the boy who survived. If it weren't for Ryan leading the way, it is estimated that the freshman would still stay at the platform until late at night. Walking down a steep and narrow path, there were dense woods on both sides. Because of the surrounding environment, the noisy crowd just now became particularly quiet, and only the regular sniffing sound continued to sound. Ryan looked and saw that it was Neville, who was still sobbing because the toad was gone. Along the way, Hagrid kept saying that they were almost there, and finally, this time they were almost there. They really arrived. Oh 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 oh. The crowd was surprised and delighted. What came into view was a black lake. On the high hillside on the other side of the lake stood a towering castle with towers and windows flashing under the starry sky. Harry, do you know why we have to walk and row to Hogwarts? Ryan said suddenly. Why? Harry was suddenly disturbed by the sudden question, and his mind went blank. The road we are walking now is the road that the 4 giants, the founders of Hogwarts, walked back then. Ryan concluded, and at the same time secretly thought in his heart that this is also a contract between students and Hogwarts. In the next 7 years, students will grow up with this castle. No more than 4 people on each boat. Hagrid said loudly, pointing to a team of small boats moored on the shore. Harry, Ron, Neville and Hermione got on the boat together, while Ryan floated aside. No one paid attention to him, and no one could pay attention to Ryan now. At Hagrid's last shout, Hagrid took a boat by himself, pushed the boat down to the horizon, and began to sail towards Hogwarts. Are you all on board? Hagrid shouted. He took a boat by himself. Well, let's go. But when sailing on the lake, there was silence all around. It was really surprising. In the past 3 years, I had never tried to see Hogwarts from this angle. On the lake, this huge castle was high into the sky, as if it was towering above my head, like a city in the sky, but it was also dangerous, because when everyone was looking up at the castle, a cliff appeared in front of them. At Hagrid's reminder, everyone lowered their heads. The ivy covering the cliff was like a curtain. When it was removed, it was a secret tunnel, finally reaching an underground dock, which is completely different from the movie. The ground in front of them was composed of gravel and cobblestones, and everyone headed up the tunnel together. When Hagrid was inspecting the empty ship, he found Foley and handed it over to the ecstatic Neville. Under the illumination of Hagrid's lantern, the little wizard finally came to a flat, damp grassland in the shadow of the castle. In front of you are high stone steps and a huge oak door. The layout here is not the same as in the movie. Even without magic, this place is more like a strict military base. There are tunnels everywhere along the way, and Hogwarts is surrounded by mountains and rivers. It can be said to be in the medieval period. The unbreakable city, in terms of layout alone, not counting magic, even Smith's castle can't compare to it, but it was just before the Lord God. With the Lord God, after the rearrangement, the terrain alone makes it difficult for people to break in. What's more, the current Smith castle has sneaked into another dimension. The fake castle in this world is just a signpost and a distraction. As long as the real castle is immortal and magic power is expended, everything in the fake castle can be repaired.